Leaving Peterborough, we return to the Trent Canal and continue north from the green-red-green marker into Loch 20, Ashburnham. For those who don't necessarily want or need to stay in a marina environment, Loch 20 offers a great alternative when visiting Peterborough. It can offer a quieter, park-like setting, all within view of downtown. Heading north from the loch, we'll be following a man-made canal for the next 4 miles until returning to the Otanabee River at Trent University. This railway swing bridge rarely, if ever, sees any train traffic during the day, so don't expect any delays. At mile 90 sits the iconic Peterborough lift lock, one of 2 lift locks located along the Trent Severn Waterway. At the base of the lock, on the west side of the canal, sits the Lift Lock Visitor Centre, where you can learn more about the construction of this lock. Also moored here is the tug Trent, sister ship to the vessel portrayed on the old Canadian $1 bill. Transiting a lift lock differs from a traditional lock in that one doesn't pass through a lock chamber, but rather rides up on what is commonly referred to as a bathtub. Securing your vessel inside a lift lock also differs from a traditional lock, as we won't be running our lines through vertical cables, but rather fixed metal bars attached to the structure. Completed in 1904, this engineering marvel was and continues to be the tallest lift lock in the world. Now a National Historic Site, it also represents the largest unreinforced concrete structure ever built. When reaching the top, the lock gate doesn't swing open like a traditional lock, but rather pivots downward, allowing the boats to exit. After this, the canal gets wider, but make sure you stay in the center of the channel, as it's quite weedy off to the sides. Just before the canal rejoins the Otanabee River, you'll pass by an abandoned railway swing bridge on your starboard side, quickly followed by the Trent University Rowing Club. The sprawling campus of Trent University stretches along both sides of the river at this point, and leads us up to our next lock, Loch 22 at Nassau Mills. Coming into Loch 22, note that this will be the first of 5 that you'll be passing through in only the next 4.5 miles. Given the fact that all these locks are the old manual type operation, anticipate 2.5 to 3 hours to cover this ground. The approach to Lakefield is made recognizable by the large chimney from the old concrete plant that used to stand on that site. When approaching the downstream side of Loch 26, you'll recognize why lock staff don't recommend tying up at the bottom for the night. Instead, head to the top side of the lock and the much more desirable tie-up wall. Because of its seemingly remote location, Loch 26 is popular with local boaters because it offers a sense of isolation while being only a 15-minute walk into the village of Lakefield. While downtown, you'll find a broad mix of shops and services, including a 4-star hotel. There's also a beer store, liquor store, restaurants, and of course, grocery shopping is available. Continuing north from the loch, the canal at first appears narrow, but widens up after about a half a mile. Once clear of the water control dam, the Otanabee River broadens again, as we head towards Lakefield Marina, just a few minutes away. With slips available for both seasonal and transient boaters, the marina offers 30 and 50 amp shore power, municipally treated water at every slip, a pump-out service, clean boater washrooms with showers, as well as a snack bar and ice at the boater reception area. With its clear view to the west, it's a great spot to catch a sunset, and when night falls, do some serious stargazing. As we depart Lakefield, our time on the Otanabee River also comes to a close, as we enter onto Lake Catchawanoka, a narrow 5-mile long body of water that will take us up to Young's Point. Catchawanoka is weedy and shallow, so be careful not to stray off the small craft route. At the top of the lake, just beyond the Highway 28 bridge, lies the community of Young's Point and the Young's Point Lock, Lock 27. Apart from the Peterborough lift lock, this is the first fully automated lock that you'll pass through. With a lift of only 7 feet, this lock is generally quick to get through, except for on the busiest of summer days. Being a popular overnight destination means that sometimes room on the lock wall is unavailable. If that's the case, then a good alternate can be found just 100 yards upriver at the Island View Resort. Along with seasonal and overnight slips, their fuel dock offers both gasoline and diesel fuel, as well as a pump-out service. And with 6 feet of depth at the gas dock, they can accommodate even the largest vessel. The licensed patio at the Old Mill restaurant overlooks the waterway, and it's the perfect place to sit back, enjoy your meal, and watch the boats pass by, of all shapes and sizes. After leaving Young's Point, we enter onto the appropriately named Clear Lake. With almost no hazards, power boaters are free to open her up for the 4-mile straight run to the top of the lake at Hell's Gate. When first entering the scenic passage, keep an eye to port for the 100-year-old St. Peter's on the Rock Church, which occupies nearly all of the tiny island it's perched upon. But don't take your eyes off the road for too long, as the granite rocks of the Precambrian Shield make themselves evident both above and below the surface. One must pay close attention to the markers as the small craft route weaves a safe path through the area. Reaching the top of Hell's Gate, keep the red-green-red bifurcation buoy to your starboard side as you head west on Stony Lake towards Burleigh Falls. From here, it's an easy and well-marked 3-mile run to the lock at Burleigh Falls. The lock itself won't become visible until after you've made your 90-degree port hand turn into the channel. Entering the cut, you'll see evidence of a second lock that used to be in service here. Back in the 1960s, these double locks were combined into a single, much larger Lock 28, and resulting in there no longer being a Lock 29 on the system. Plan to stop here to take a look at the rapids in the falls, but remember the rocks are jagged and can be unstable, so exercise caution when hiking. From this point on, you'll begin to notice a lot more traffic from rental houseboats, which are quite popular in this area. Overnight docking at the bottom of Lock 28 is limited to only the space behind the blue line, with room for perhaps 2 medium-sized boats. The topside, however, on Lovesick Lake can accommodate many more boats, with docking on both sides of the lock wall. When crossing Lovesick Lake, be sure to have your camera at the ready, as the stunning scenery on the short 1.8 mile run up to the next lock will provide you with dozens of great photo opportunities. Lock 30 at Lovesick is situated on an island with no road access. This isolated seclusion makes it a very popular spot for overnighting boaters, and it's often at capacity early in the day. At only 3.5 feet, Lovesick has the shortest lift of any of the locks along the system, making its passage a quick and easy affair. Deer Bay Marina, just west of the lock, is the first marina you'll pass on Lower Buckhorn Lake. Their service department does mechanical repairs, their fuel dock sells gasoline and also has a pump-out service. Just past mile 118, you'll come to Reach Harbor. This full-service marina offers transient slips with shore power up to 50 amps. They can also haul boats up to 22,000 pounds if repairs are needed. Just ahead of Buckhorn, the small craft route takes us through a narrow and scenic passage at the west end of the lake. If you haven't already, you'll need to pull back the throttles, as speed is restricted through here to 10 km, roughly 6 miles per hour. Right next to the bottom of Lock 31 sits Sunrise Resort. Along with rental cottages, they also have limited overnight docking for up to 6 boats in this quaint and friendly facility. If you arrive at Buckhorn Lock with downbound traffic already exiting the chamber before you get to the Blue Line, your best bet, if possible, is just to hang back on the lake and wait for traffic to clear the lock. With up to 6,000 boats passing through here annually, Buckhorn is one of the busiest locks on the entire Trent Severn Waterway. At the top, there's long tie-up walls on both sides of the channel, but these often fill up quickly, especially on weekends. Within short walking distance of the lock, there's a grocery store, hardware store, as well as an LCBO outlet. If you feel like going out for a meal, there's a popular Cody Inn, as well as Main Street Landing, located right here on the water's edge. Moving on from Lock 31, we'll head southwest through Buckhorn Lake, sometimes also referred to as Upper Buckhorn Lake. Just a ways up on your starboard side is Buckhorn Yacht Harbor. Truly a full-service marina. They have an on-site staff of technicians certified by both Mercury Marine as well as Volvo Penta. As well, they do complete fiberglass, upholstery, and canvas repairs, and the machine shop is renowned for doing some of the best prop repairs in the industry. Just past mile 127, south of Nicole Island, there's a narrow passage which could be best described as a trench. Although the charts show 5 to 6 feet of water here, it's advisable that deeper draft boats take it slow. Passing between Morrissey and Kishku Island, the small craft route turns to starboard and continues on into the Gannon Narrows. Keep in mind that this is a 10K zone from here to the other side of the bridge, so adjust your speed accordingly. Just beyond the bridge is Gannon Narrows Marina, which offers limited transient slips. With little over 4 feet of water at their gas dock, deeper draft vessels should exercise caution when approaching. The 5-mile run north on Pigeon Lake follows a fairly straight and clear track right up to Bobcaygeon. Just keep an eye out for the Long Point and Three Sister Shoals on your port-hand side. At the top of Pigeon Lake, we'll head west and take a slow cruise up the Big Bob Channel into the town of Bobcaygeon. Just ahead of the lock, you'll arrive at Gordon Yacht Harbour Marina. Along with 55 covered and 10 open slips, they boast spotless restrooms and showers, have on-site laundromat facilities, and will even do grocery delivery. And that's probably just a few of the reasons why they welcome over 1,000 transient boaters each season. Lock 32 at Bobcaygeon holds the distinction of being the very first lock built on the Trent Severn Waterway, with the original construction dating way back to 1833. As well, it's one of the most popular spots along the Trent Severn Waterway, allowing it to claim the title of busiest lock on the system most summers. You'll find the blue line to port well back of the lock chamber. This is done to accommodate the swing bridge. If you're hoping to stop here, but can't find any room at the bottom side of the lock, you can always try your luck topside, on the long tie-up wall of this highly sought-after location. Bobcaygeon's main drag runs north and south of the swing bridge, and is where you can do most of your essential shopping. It's also where you'll find the great restaurants and specialty shops one would expect in a popular tourist town. Bobcaygeon's popularity stems from the fact that it's blessed to be located right in the heart of an area known as the Kawartha Lakes. The name Kawartha is derived from an Aboriginal term meaning land of shining waters, and with scenery like this, it's not hard to imagine why. Casting off from Bobcaygeon, the Big Bob Channel continues westerly for about a half a mile, where it leads us on to Sturgeon Lake. As soon as you've cleared the channel, you'll notice Center Point Landing Marina on your starboard side. Along with the usual overnight docking amenities, they also have a great waterfront deck, and it's about a half an hour walk back into town from here. A mile and a half up into port sits Birch Point Marina. Along with transient slips and fuel dock, they also have equipment that can haul larger boats. Once past McConnell Island, it's a straight 5-mile run to Sturgeon Point, where the route takes a sharp 90-degree turn to starboard and heads north for another 5 miles, where Sturgeon Lake meets up with the Fenelon River. From here, it's time to take it slow as you admire the many pretty homes and cottages that line both sides of the shore. Keep an eye out for swimmers as you pass by the sandy beach at Witchwood Resort. Moving upstream, you'll notice the banks of the river becoming increasingly taller the closer you get to the gorge, which sits at the base of the falls. Just before you get to the lock, you'll pass by these scenic limestone outcroppings created by the force of the river and thousands of years of erosion. Lock 34 at Fenelon Falls is another very popular spot, and although the recently expanded tie-up wall at the top of the lock offers both shore power as well as freshwater connections, don't pass up the opportunity to spend some time at the bottom side of the lock. Being situated right at the base of the falls provides not only their best view, but the tranquil sounds of the rushing water is a great way to end the day. With the blue line located a fair ways downstream of Lock 34 and partially obscured by a fixed road bridge, a closed-circuit video camera is installed here to help the lock staff see any oncoming traffic. With the lock gates open and the channel clear of traffic, the light will change from red to green, indicating it's safe to enter into the lock. As was the case in Burleigh Falls, the original configuration here consisted of a set of 2 flight locks, with the original construction being completed way back in 1885. Reaching the top of the lock, we enter into the long channel that leads in from Cameron Lake. As you can see, there's tie-up options on both sides, with the majority of room being available to starboard. In total, there's room for up to 20 boats, with most having access to both shore power and freshwater connections. The village of Fenelon Falls grew up along the waterway that was once home to numerous lumber mills during the logging boom of the mid to late 1800s. Today, it's that same focus on the water, centered around tourism and leisure activities, that make it such a fun place and a must-stop location to visit. And when evening rolls around, get ready for some of the prettiest sunsets on the water. When leaving Fenelon Falls and approaching the railway swing bridge, be sure to keep the center section to your starboard side. As well, be aware of the semi-submerged stone wall to port just beyond the bridge. From here, you'll head roughly 2.5 miles to the northwest part of Cameron Lake. Unlike the rest of Cameron, this part of the lake is very shallow and weedy, so be sure to stay on course. The mile-long canal that leads into Rosedale Lock is quite wide and free of any fixed hazards. Its close proximity to Fenelon Falls makes Rosedale Lock another popular overnight spot, especially on weekends. With its expansive parkland and pretty location, it's easy to understand why this is such a popular destination. Keep in mind that the waterway is managed by Parks Canada, and, as such, all of the well-groomed grounds around each of the lock stations operate as a mini national park. Heading through Rosedale, you'll pass right by the fuel docks of Rosedale Marina, where they sell both gasoline and diesel fuel. They also offer overnight transient slips. Upon entering onto Balsam Lake, the main small craft route veers to port at the red-green-red bifurcation buoy just ahead of Grand Island. Although mostly free of hazards, keep an eye out for Togo Rock at mile 159. At the southwest point of Grand Island, you'll swing to starboard, staying between the green markers off of Long Point and the red here at Greeny Island. From there, it's about a mile northwest of the red-green-red bifurcation buoy, where it's another easy turn to port and the entrance to the Trent Canal at Laidlaw Point. When entering onto this section of the Trent Canal, vessels over 40 feet are advised to call a Sécurité on their VHF radio channel 16. Within this Sécurité call, include your vessel length, beam, and direction of travel. This will give the heads up of your status to any boats that may be headed towards you and allow them to either alter their course or inform you of their position if necessary. As you can see, this stretch of the canal is quite narrow, making the passage of two larger craft nearly impossible. Fortunately, one clears this section in about 15 minutes, and the canal opens up again at Mitchell Lake. Mitchell Lake is little more than a stream that was flooded during the creation of the Trent Severn Waterway. Although it may look clear on the surface, the waters beyond the buoy channel are not navigable, as the lake is strewn with rocks and tree stumps. 2/3 of the way across, the lake is divided by an overhead road bridge. Just past the bridge, we'll re-enter a man-made cut, this time leading us right to the Kirkfield lift lock. Although not as narrow overall as the previous section, one should still maintain a course through the center of the channel wherever possible. Approaching the Kirkfield lift lock, you'll quickly come to realize that, after traveling 170 miles and rising up nearly 600 feet, this is the first lock that you'll enter from the top side. Having reached the summit of the system, from here on in, it's all downstream. And with that in mind, the color of the markers are going to change from red on the right to green on the right. The lift locks operate through simple hydraulic pressure, with the upper lock chamber being filled with an extra foot of water, providing the counterbalance weight to lift the upbound chamber. When reaching the bottom, that extra foot of water is released when the lock gates open, so prepare to adjust your lines accordingly. Leaving Lock 36, you're quickly on Canal Lake, and your first opportunity to acclimatize yourself to the new downbound marker arrangement. Don't forget, it's green on the right from here on in. Take it slow when approaching and going under the arched bridge known as the Hole in the Wall, as deadheads are known to accumulate here. At the east end of the lake is the entrance to the Talbot River, where it'll once again be time to pull back on the throttles. It's go slow for the next 7 miles as we pass through the village of Bolsover and the 5 locks that lead to Lake Simcoe on the other side. Just before reaching the second swing bridge, you'll arrive at Sunset Cove Marina, on your port hand side. The friendly owners can help you out with fuel, pump out, or even arrange for mechanical repairs. Transient slips are available if needed. The 2 swing bridges you'll encounter in Bolsover both operate on demand. And in most cases, the opening will be timed perfectly for your arrival. Lock 37, Bolsover, is the first of 5 that you'll come to in rapid succession. Although it's only 5 miles to the mouth of Lake Simcoe from here, many regulars would argue that this is the longest stretch on the entire Trent Severn Waterway. The next 5 locks are all of the old manual style, which means, depending on your luck, you may experience some longer transit times. Heading downbound, these locks operate on par with the more modern hydraulic locks. They do, however, take a little longer to fill, so if you have a lot of upbound traffic heading towards you, you may have to practice a little bit of patience while you wait. The staff at all these locks do a great job of trying to keep things moving as quickly and smoothly as possible. To that end, they'll keep the boats together in groups, meaning whoever you came down through Bolsover Lock with will be the same boats that you go through the rest of the locks with. In short order, everybody develops a quick rhythm, who goes in first, who comes out first, and so on. Plus, there's nowhere to turn off or come on to this stretch of waterway, so everybody just follows along in line, nice, slow, easy pace. Look at the scenery, it's beautiful. Take your time. Given the fact that this short run will take a minimum of 2 hours and upwards of 3 or more to complete, some would elect to stop at any one of the locks along the way. If it's getting late or you've been running all day, this could be a great place to stop, relax, or even spend the night and get up in the morning refreshed before heading out onto Lake Simcoe.